Like this? You are on, Miss McCarty.
Okay. Well, I hope there's some people that maybe didn't know me, or maybe some new people that might listen to this. All of the faces that I'm seeing right now know me pretty well. You know my story. And so what I'm going to talk about today is, there's just a lot of different types of weight loss interventions now. And it is, when, like I said, y'all know my story. And when, I ate myself up to 287 pounds and I could lose weight, and I lost weight 4 different times. I lost 100, 120, 30, 40 pounds, but I could not keep it off. I could not keep it off. I'd gain it back. And that 5th time, I thought, it's got to be different this time. It must be different. And I had found, well, not at that time. I was in a 12-step program. I was in Al-Anon, but there wasn't any OA in our town at that time. It was 1972, and I had a house full of little children, and I was morbidly obese. And, I thought, I cannot face trying to lose another 100, 30, 40 pounds, 50, 160 pounds. And I had a friend that was much larger than me, and she found out that there was a doctor about 100 miles west of here that was doing the very first bariatric surgeries. And she was going to have it done. She was also a school teacher, and I have always had school teachers on pedestals. And I thought, she is very smart, and if she thinks this is a good idea, I'm going to watch her. And I told her husband, I said, if she wakes out from under that anesthetic, call me, and then I'm going to call the doctor and make an appointment. So she did. He did. And I called and made the appointment. And I knew when I walked into that doctor's office that I really did not need to do that surgery, because he was very arrogant. I laid on that table, and I was very obese. I'm short, and 287 pounds is a lot for a short person to carry. And he would poke at my legs and my thighs, and he'd say, why did you let yourself get like this? Very arrogant, very angry. But I wanted to be thin more than I wanted, just about anything in the world. So I accepted that bad behavior from him in order to have the surgery, and hopefully for the first time in my life to be within a normal weight range. So I had the surgery, and the type of surgery that I had, they don't even do it anymore. It was a very dangerous surgery. This particular doctor only did it on 10 of us, and I'm one of the few that lived. A lot of them died. Some of them committed suicide. And so what it did, it would create everything that I would eat would go straight through me. And I lost a lot of weight. I lost everything that I put in my mouth, and I became thin. And you would think that would have been the end all to everything, that I could look in the mirror. And it was hard for me to see a thin person. And in spite of that, I liked feeling, it took me a long time to get used to the body. But one thing they never talked about, they did not talk about the possibility that I might have an eating disorder. They never talked about the possibility of compulsive overeating, what to do. And by this time, I had done everything that I knew to do to lose the weight, and I would, and then I'd get it back. And so what happened is I ate more after I had the surgery than I had ever eaten before. I couldn't get enough. I was trying to fill up that hole in the soul, And I did not know that. I did not know that. I got very ill. I lost every mineral, calcium, everything. I became very anemic. And, I had to use one arm to pick the other one up. I was weak, but I had a house full of children. And I had talked my husband into letting me have this surgery. And so I didn't complain. I didn't tell anyone how very, very ill I was. He finally caught on to how sick I was. But you know what happens? The body wants to restore itself. And what happened is it did. It started restoring itself. And I did not slow down the eating. And consequently, I started gaining the weight back. And I went from, it's not about numbers, but I'm going to tell you, from about 130 to 195. I was already, by that time, I was working in the field. My children had grown some, and I was working in the alcohol drug field. And I had never heard of the word bulimia. I didn't know what it was. But what I got up in my little pea head, and I thought, if it was the diarrhea that caused me to lose the weight, what I can do is start taking laxatives. So from that, I started that. I had the surgery the first part of 72, and I started the laxative abuse the last part of 72, and abused laxatives for the next 13 years. Now, in the meantime, in 72, a lot happened in 72. A woman came to town that had been in Overeaters Anonymous, and she started OA. And I became a faithful member of Overeaters Anonymous. But I couldn't get honest. I couldn't get honest what I was doing with the food. I couldn't get honest with, I certainly didn't tell anyone what I was doing with the laxatives. So by the end of that 13 years, I was up to taking 100 to 125 X-Lax a day. The reason is because they quit working. They stopped. Like any drug addict will tell you they have to use more. Any alcoholic will tell you we have to use more of whatever. And I was seeing an internist because I was ill. And I never once told that doctor what I was doing about the laxatives because I didn't want to stop. So my colon was falling out of my body. My liver was damaged, and he didn't know what was causing it. It's one of the reasons that doctors don't like to treat some doctors, I won't say all doctors, don't like to treat obese people or eating disorders, period, or addicts, period, because we don't tell them the truth. We lie by omission. We just leave out a few little things. So my face was brown from the liver spots, and I was very ill. I just had one daughter left at home. She was a senior in high school. And my husband and my youngest daughter are the ones that went through the last years of the hell of my eating disorder. But, like a good addict, I never talked about it. I played like it wasn't happening. I didn't know what to do. I could not stop. But I started praying I had been praying for an answer for years. And it came in the form of this hip, slake, and cool therapist from LA that came, applied for a job. I hired him. He was a great therapist. And one day he asked to talk to me, and we went into the library, and what he said was, "Tennie, I think you're a bull." And I told him, I said, "Alan," I thought he thought I was gay. And I said, "Alan, I think you're an idiot. What are you talking about?" And he said, "I think you're bulimic." And the reason he could recognize that is that his wife almost died from anorexia and bulimia, and he had watched her, and he had been watching me as long as he'd been there. He said, "You'll get upset, You call for a break, as all the guys go out and smoke. You go to the candy machine, get you 3 Snicker bars, lock yourself up in the bathroom, and when you come out, you've calmed down. So he had my number. But I always say it's abusive to point out a problem without pointing out a solution. And Alan pointed out a solution. He gave me a book called Fat is a Family Affair by Dr. Judy Hollis. And Hollis was opening a treatment center in Los Angeles the following Tuesday. Alan encouraged me to call him. He knew the friend that was going to be her head therapist, her clinical director. Long story short, I didn't wind up there on Tuesday, but I was there Wednesday in LA. Had never flown in an airplane. And people, I was sort of Miss Al-Anon, and my husband and I were kind of a recovering couple, here in Abilene. So when I went out to treatment for an eating disorder, people didn't know. I mean, it baffled everyone. I was made fun of. My beloved people in the 12-step programs turned from me. They thought I was an idiot for going all the way to Los Angeles to do whatever. They didn't know what I was doing. So what I'm telling you, I'm a pioneer in this deal. I've been going, I've been overeating since I was age 4. I've been in recovery. That was when I walked in the doors of that treatment center September 19th of 1985. That was 38 years ago. I have been in good recovery, not perfection. There's no perfection with eating disorders. We do have to, when we're alcoholic, drug addicts, one drink's a relapse. With eating disorder people, we can have slips. We can kind of get off of the path, off of the trail, but then it's about stepping right back on. So through a lot of other people, and I came home, OA had disbanded in the last 2 years of my journey of getting sick. I didn't even know OA had disbanded. So I came back, helped start meetings, and I started my recovery journey. And I knew that I wanted to treat all addictions with the primary focus on eating disorders. So, 35 years ago, we started Shades of Hope. So I kind of gave you that to start to really, kind of set up what I want to talk about. And, there's some things happening in the weight loss field that can really change the weight loss industry universally. It can, because of the weight loss drugs. They work with some people. Ozempic was designed in 2000. Now, they didn't start prescribing it until I can't remember that date, but it's been around for a while. But, we're in West Texas. Everything starts on the East and West Coast, moves to the center where the lies to get the info. So I have only known about these drugs probably for the last year, maybe a year and a half. Keep in mind, I am for anything that will help a client. If you haven't been morbidly obese, if you haven't carried around 40, 50, 60, 80, 100, 200, 300 pounds, you have no idea what it's like. You have no earthly idea. And, we can't step in other people's shoes unless we walked in those shoes. So I know what it feels like to carry that weight around and not be able to play with your children and not do this and not do that. So I am for anything that will help someone. So I wanted to talk. I was on a panel a few Saturdays ago for a conference. And it was a psychiatrist, psychologist, therapist, and then me. And I really probably were I think I was the only one on there that looks and treats eating disorders as an addiction. In fact, I know that I'm not saying, yes, I was the only one on there. And I do believe, absolutely believe, that it is a mental and emotional disorder, but it goes farther than that. Yes, and it is an absolute physical disorder, but it goes farther than that. And I think any treatment that doesn't take people to the spiritual realm is missing the point. I think they're missing the boat. And I think that any addiction is a spiritual problem, and that we begin to worship the very substance that we take, that becomes the God of our understanding. And I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt, and I will listen to anyone give me anything that will help anyone. But I still think, I don't care what it is. I think the bottom line is, if people want to be happy, joyous, and free, not just thin or dry, sobriety, being dry from alcohol is not sobriety. Sobriety is finding a way of healthy spiritual way to live. And when that component is missing, you can take all the meds you want to take. We can have all the surgeries we want to have. But if we do not get into that spiritual realm, every addiction brings with it a mental obsession. That is what separates an addict from a non-addict. People who don't have addictions, when you talk about that mental obsession, they don't quite get it. They don't know what you're talking about. You talk to another addict and talk to him about, in the past, when I would get to thinking, I'd be on this strict 1,000-calorie diet, and then I'd get to thinking about a Snicker bar. Well, then that's all I could think about, that mental obsession. It's the idea that overcomes all other ideas. That is the mental and the emotional part of addiction. And that, I believe, no human power can change, but God can and will if he sought. So I'm saying this, that if people, and I am in full support, keep saying that, because I had my intestines cut out. Why would I not support people who have bariatric surgeries? And I'll tell you, they're much safer today than they've ever been. And there is some success. There's some success. Now, along with the success, there's many of them who have bariatric surgery that eat through it. And we see them. We've had them here many times that have eaten through the surgery because they didn't treat the core symptoms, what is going on the inside. And that's what's got to be addressed, those core symptoms. That's what's driving the addiction of any kind. Now, we're addicts because we have that brain and body chemistry. That's what makes us addicts. You can't make a non-addict out of an addict. You can't. You've either got it, you don't have it. Most of us on this screen have it. So if we treat that, if people will treat that, and once I really surrendered in treatment and realized when I went to treatment, I didn't know that what I had was a disease much like alcoholism. And I am grateful every single day that I went to a treatment center where Dr. Hollis, treated us like she had treated her alcoholic clients, and she'd been in the alcohol drug field for years. So one day, she weighed like 260 or something. One day she thought, why can't I use these same principles that I'm teaching my drug addicts and alcoholics every day? Why can't I use that same principle with my eating? And she didn't know there was OA. She found an OA meeting. She started OA. She lost her weight. And she's still a member of I don't need to tell her story, but I'll tell you, she saved my life. I call her on September the 19th every year and thank her. And she doesn't want me to thank her. She said that was God. I said, yes, but you were the messenger. Had it not been for Judy Hollis, I would have not known that I had a disease, a fatal disease. All I knew is I was fat, overweight, and I needed to lose the weight, and you tell me how, and I'll do it. So with that, I've just about beat that horse to death. And so with the knowledge that I had, and I will tell you, when I was in treatment, it was hard. It was hard. I detoxed from laxatives that I had not gone one day without taking for 13 years. I got off of sugar that I hadn't been off of since I was 4. I would go on these strict diets and not eat sugar, except maybe I'd eat my baby's animal crackers. That had sugar in it. Or I would pick this up or that up, but I'd play like I wasn't eating sugar. So my system never really detoxed from sugar. I went through a detox in treatment that's equal to any drug addict, alcoholic that I ever treated. And so that tells me if you've ever eaten sugar and you've tried to detox from it and you've had problems like hot and cold sweats, throwing up, shaking, all of that, you too might be addicted to sugar. So I had a spiritual experience while I was in that treatment center. And when I came out of that, I knew I'm going to be all right. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I knew I was going to be all right. And from that point on, although I had worked the steps in Al-Anon, I had never gotten honest with the food. I had to get honest with the food because I never could before. So anyway, with that, I want to talk about, I said a little about the weight loss surgeries. And like I said, I am for it. I have spoke at bariatric surgeons, these big conferences. They've invited me to go speak. I am not against them. Only thing I am against is if they don't couple that with getting to that core pain, recommending that they get into, they'll have support groups, but it's support groups of people that have gone through the surgery, and that's good to support each other. But there's no 12-step model there. The 12 steps, and you folks all know that, you start on step 1, you walk through those 12 steps. If you don't have a God of your understanding standing before you start, by the end of step 12, it's going to march you up face to face with the God of your understanding. There is no failure in those steps, zero failure. So that is what had been missing in my weight loss endeavor since I had been 13 years old. I'd started losing weight when I was 13, trying to. So what I would like to see, and I spoke this in it's several times that I've spoken at bariatric gatherings. What I would like to see people do is couple the surgery and that weight loss. They can have some remarkable weight loss, but if they don't treat the underlying causes and conditions and get into what is driving the eating or the drinking or the drugs, what's driving it, they will not recover. They will gain the weight back. And I believe until they find some sort of spiritual change, the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous talks about that. They could not, they can get those alcoholics sober, but those sobers would not stay sober. They would go out and drink again. They would not mind the doctor. They would go out and drink. And then a little psychiatrist, I think it's so interesting how non-addict alcoholic people have helped so many of us. This little psychiatrist, Dr. Carl Jung in Switzerland, was treating a bad old alcoholic from the States. Rich man, came from a rich family, no telling how much money he had paid Dr. that little psychiatrist. But he'd thrown up his hands. He said, I don't know another thing to do for you, because he would not stop drinking. He did everything that he could do, Dr. Young did, to help Roland, and nothing changed. And finally, Dr. Carl Jung said the only thing I know that will help is to have a complete psychic change brought about through a spiritual experience. Now, that came from a doctor. That didn't come from a preacher. That came from a doctor. So that's where we get in the program that it's so essential to seek spiritual healing. That and some in the program will have a flash of light spiritual experience. Most of us don't. Most of us have that slow awakening as we work the program, that slow awakening. It doesn't matter how fast or slow you get there, as long as you get there. As long as we peel off those layers and that we find a God of our understanding. And by the way, if you don't know the God of your understanding, if you want to know where he is, all you have to do is look down at your navel. And when you do that, you're going to see inside yourself, and that's where God is. God lives inside of every man, woman, and child. You don't have to go out looking for him anywhere else. He's inside of each of us. But what happens, when we find the God of our understanding, then we begin to help. Anyway, I'm gone to preach it. I want to get back to these drugs. I can preach to you all day. But I will tell you, if you want recovery through these drugs, and I think that, it says that they are the miracle drug. They're saying, and I've got some research right here, and it's not true research, folks. I called my doctor and talked to her, and she said, Tennie, that is not true research. That is the pharmaceutical companies putting that out. Do not believe that. Because what they're saying now that on Ozempic and Wegovy, I think how you say Wegovy, that some of these new drugs can help elderly, help restore muscle mass, and can help with dementia. Well, that's why I called my doctor. I was all over that. Give me the shot, because I have a lot of muscle mass. I'm flabby. I'm 80 years old. I'm not as flabby as I could be because I do exercise. But I thought, well, if that will help that, and my memory's not as good, and so they're saying, I'm making light of it, but it's serious. They're saying that it is going to be a miracle drug for alcoholism. It's going to be a miracle drug for the elderly. It's going to be the miracle drug. You have the problem, this is going to cure it. These are miracle drugs. And early on in the addiction field, what I was told and what I believe, we were always told in classrooms that we really hope that they never invented a pill that could cure alcoholism or drug addiction. And now it's eating disorder or overweight, because if it did cure alcoholism and drug addiction, why would anybody need to seek a God of their understanding? So, that's just kind of was put in my brain forever, because if a pill could just cure all of us, why do we need God? So I'm not for the drug. What I am for is couple it with a sound meal plan. One of the things with Ozempic that they're seeing is, particularly with the morbidly obese, when they start, they lose massive amounts of weight if they can get past, if their system can tolerate it. Now, there's a lot of side effects of this medication. One of them, in fact, my doctor is overweight, and she said that it made her violently ill throughout. And so nausea is the one thing. A lot of people can't take Ozempic. There's a lot of side effects, but if they can get past the side effects, and it, their system supports the weekly shots that they take, they can lose. We're seeing that they're losing massive amounts of weight. But the danger of this is they don't eat. They don't get hungry, and they eat small amounts. And that was the thing, this medical doctor, she's a psychiatrist and a medical doctor, and she's written lots of papers on this. And what she pointed out that I really hadn't thought about is they're going to wind up being malnutritious because they're not feeding themselves appropriately, because they're not hungry, they don't want to eat. And then, I know how it feels to lose weight. You get high off of losing weight. So when they are taking that shot and they're feeling good, they're losing the weight, they're not hungry, and then they cut the food down a little bit more. Now, not everyone, I'm not saying this across the board, that there are some, and then they wind up malnourished, and then they start having that problem that their body's not getting accurate nourishment. So that needs to be stressed. And I don't know. I mean, you go on Facebook. If you want this medication, you go on Facebook, and in 3 seconds you will find it advertised. So I don't think those people that are mailing this drug through the mail to people are encouraging them to eat a balanced diet and really notice their nutrition. Because what they're doing is this: they want the money, they sell the drug, and they're doing, all of these diet drugs are doing the same type of marketing and getting it to doctors and pushing it, just like they did the opiates. That is this, they're going through the same exact pattern that they did when they were because that's how we got in trouble with opiates. Do y'all know that? Shake your heads if you know it. It's through the marketing and hitting those doctors' offices. And those detail people, those people that sell drugs, for a living, they will market the doctors, and they, wine them and dine them and take them out to eat and bring them gifts and all of that, and give them all these samples. And so that's how the doctors get on to prescribing these meds. And that's what happened with the opiates. And that's what, across the country, we're still suffering a lot from that. So I'm just hoping that whoever prescribes this medication will do it with a lot of caution and a lot of instructions, and encourage people to feed themselves healthy, continue to exercise. And as they start losing the weight, if they've been morbidly obese, like I was, you want to exercise, you want to move your body because you're feeling better about yourself. And I'm all for that. I am not for that. I'm not against that. But what I'm against, and this research shows it, everything I have seen, the minute they stop taking the medication like that, they gain the weight back. Because the minute they stop taking the medication, the hunger comes back. When the hunger comes back, the habit that has not gone away, this comes back, trying to fill up that hole in the soul. Now they're thin and they're looking good and they can move their body and they're exercising, but there's nothing on the inside. So anyway, this is why I'm hoping that doctors will, and they won't. I can hope all I want to. I've been in this business for years, and doctors do not refer their patients. Very few will ever refer a patient to a 12-step program unless they have the addiction, some form of addiction themselves, or if they have a family member, or they have some close connection with the 12-step program. They're not going to refer. They do not refer out to 12-step programs. The doctors I have had any contact with, maybe your doctor's different. And this is what we need to do as people in recovery, is educate our doctors and our dentists, that if they are working with people that are morbidly obese, that they are recommending and giving these meds to, also have enough courtesy to encourage them to go to a 12-step program. Whether they do or not, I don't know. Anyway, it's like I just preach on this subject, but the surgery works. They do work, folks, but people eat through them. Now, on the surgery, and we had a group of doctors here that came out and met me years ago when these new surgeries first came out, and they wanted us to do psychologicals on them to get them to see if they were, stable enough to have the surgery. What I wanted to do with these doctors, I proposed a program. I said, let's bring them in, do a 6-day, that's what I was doing, 6-day intensives. Let's bring them in and do a 6-day intensive. Have them have the surgery, and then have them spend 5 more weeks here doing the recuperating from the surgery, and also treating the underlying causes and conditions and the spiritual side. And then the beautiful thing would be if they could stay 90 days. Those doctors laughed at me. They said, it's money. It's always about money. And insurance, anyway, I won't get into all of that, but that would have been a good program. And I think that these places that are doing the surgeries, I think that they're giving more than they used to. I think they're helping them more. I don't know that they refer them to 12-step programs. I wish they would. I do think that they have some support groups, but I have been to those bariatric conferences, and they just get all hyped up. And I mean, it's like a whole, I don't know, I won't get into all of that. I'm not judging anybody. I'm not, but I've just seen too many of them gain the weight back. Another thing that we've seen in these are not my numbers, 25% who have had the surgery, the bariatric surgery, have turned to alcohol. The metabolism changes like that. It changes. And if they drank, I mean, for women anyway, 3 drinks and were drunk. I mean, 3 glasses of wine is considered, too much for a woman, our metabolism. You couple that with the bariatric surgery, out pops an instant alcoholic. We have seen it over and over and over because they lose the weight, they feel good, they get cute, they want to go hang out with their friends. And what are most friends doing? They go and, drink wine, go on weekends. Anyway, we've seen it over and over that they turn to alcohol. So, and then they become instant alcoholic. Don't take my word for it. Look up the research. So what I'm saying is anything can work if you package it to where you're treating the physical component, and that's what the drugs will do and the surgery will treat the physical. It will. It does not touch the mental and emotional side, nor does it touch the spiritual side. So if we can encompass all of that, and with the drugs and the surgery, I think it could be very successful for a lot of people. And what I'm encouraging people to do is, if they're on the surgery, if they've had the surgery, come here to our new program, and it's going to be an abstinence program. Come here and do your recovery from the surgery. That could be the best gift that you could give yourself. And also, if you're on the medication, that would be a wonderful time to come here and treat the eating disorder while you're losing the weight, because this is an inside job, and losing the weight is not going to heal you from the inside out. We get sick from the inside out. We've got to get well from the inside out. It's not all about the outside. So I don't know if this has helped you at all. I just want to really say, because there's a lot of people on the medication, I am not for, I'm not against it. I'm for it, with the idea that people will be treated for the underlying causes and conditions. and also bring in that spiritual component. Let's get people well. Let's don't get them thin and keep them sick, or keep them, we've seen them lose and lose and lose and lose and lose, and then that brain kicks in, and the brain likes the thinness. And we've seen compulsive overeaters go from being compulsive overeaters to being anorexic. So it is a disease. It's not a moral issue. It's not a sin. So let's treat food addiction, eating disorders, as and I know there's a lot of people, good people out there in treatment centers that are doing some good work. I just disagree with some of the things that they do. They disagree with me. They do not see it as an addiction. They see it, like I said, as a physical disease, mainly a mental disease. Let's treat the mind, they'll get well. So anyway, that's what I have. I've kind of keep on till I stop sharing and go to preaching. So I'm preaching to the choir here. So let's talk about this. Do you have any personal experience with the medication? Are you coupling it with your program? I would really like to know what people are doing, because these are diseases and it is, eating disorders are billion-dollar industries. Billions. They make billions of dollars off of people like us, because if we don't stand for something, we'll fall for anything. And when we're in the depths of obesity, we'll fall for anything. Just tell us how to lose the weight. All right, so I want to open it up. Y'all talk, share, ask questions. I don't have many answers, but let's just talk among ourselves. Who would like to start?
Bethany has her hand up.
Okay. Who does?
Bethany, and then Jenny.
All right, Bethany, and then Jenny.
So I started taking Ozempic about a year ago. And since that time, I've lost about 25 pounds. Okay. So it's not a real rapid weight loss, which my doctor is pleased with. And I did face some of those symptoms. The nausea is persistent. And it slows everything down in there. So that's basically what it's doing. It's slowing my intestinal process down. So I've suffered from gas and burping and those kinds of things. It's unpleasant, but not unbearable. I do notice that the nausea, it doesn't make me less hungry, but the nausea makes me not want to eat. And so what I have had to do in this process is remember that my body needs those nutrients. And I've had to change some of the aspects of my my meal plan, because in the morning I feel that nausea really heavily and I don't want to eat. So I've started doing smoothies. So I put some protein powder in there and some chia seeds and a bunch of fruits and vegetables, and I do different things every day, try to get different nutrients in there. Occasionally, if the nausea isn't really bad, I'll also have like a hard-boiled egg or a piece of bread, the gluten-free bread. But yeah, it's been a challenge, but I feel like it's a tool. It's a tool that I'm using to help overcome the fact that I have Hashimoto's and my metabolism is really bad. It's really slow. And the Hashimoto's is like, my body's not doing what it should do. I followed the Shades plan for 3 years and I lost about 30 pounds. And my doctor said, your body's not functioning the way it should function. And I think this might help you. And she said, I wouldn't even recommend this if you weren't already doing a meal plan. So I felt pretty good about it. And I've stayed in touch with my dietitian here. And I kept going to counseling, all those things. I'm still working that inside out kind of way. I don't see this as a miracle drug. I know they're talking about it like that, but I don't see it like that because it's not the only thing that I'm doing. So I guess that's all I have.
Good for you, Bethany. And let us know your progress, because what happens in obesity, the metabolism wears out. We wear it completely out, and so that's, I mean, that's not a medical term, but anyway, that is what happens. I was also reading an article about when people have surgery on these medications. What's happened, they have lost them. That this is the only deaths that they've really seen with Ozempic, is when they have surgery, and that anyway, you'll need to read the article. And so anesthesiologists are saying, telling people to get off of the meds for a week to 2 weeks, because what happens, that food that sits in there comes up, and it has, I mean, they've lost some patients through that. So you might want to, I just thought that was interesting. And so they're telling them to get off the medication before they have any kind of surgery, so keep us informed. I'd love to follow you. So thanks. And my best to you. Love you. Jenny.
Yeah, and then Amber.
Jenny.
Hey y'all, name's Jenny. I'm a compulsive overeater. Yeah, I'm on a journey with OA now that's very different. You were describing kind of at the beginning, Tennie, about a point at which it was the last time, and it was clear to you, like, I got to do something different. And I went through a very similar journey even after leaving Shades. And I'm at a point where I'm on the good foot, and I have been for some time now, working an OA program. And with a plan for eating, and send pictures of my food to my sponsor to hold myself accountable, really. But it's that little question in the back of my mind. I think I have a very healthy skepticism when it comes to pharmaceutical companies. And, I went to Methodist Hospital in Houston, their quote medical weight loss program, end quote, before I went to Shades. And what was remarkable to me, even in the depths of my illness, and this is illness of compulsive overeating and alcoholism, is that, they looked at my stomach, and they saw the stomach of an alcoholic and compulsive overeater. And their response was, pretty much, when can we cut? And when I asked about data, about outcomes, they weren't interested in speaking to me about that. And so I left. And sadly, I lived a few more years in alcoholism and compulsive overeating before I read Tennie's book. My point is this: I'm happy with the spiritual solution. The spiritual solution works, and it doesn't fill me with the ego and all the other character defects that come along with rapid weight loss. When I lose a lot of weight, I get to see my character defects, which is important, but I'd rather discover them slowly, at my pace, God's pace, than have them just sort of thrown at me. Because I remember what it was like in college, over and over again, losing a lot of weight. And all those feelings come back, and they are overwhelming if they come back all at once, or if they come back quickly. And so I guess in the back of my mind, it was like, does this really work for people, as an adjunct to working a healthy OA program? The only other thing I would add is that I'm now finally prioritizing getting a primary care physician. And I'm being perfectly honest about, that I work an OA program, that this is the history, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm hoping to be able to work with this person. I think I can, but that's where I'll make that decision. But I don't need it. I just want to make sure that I'm losing weight. I've got I carried 3 children, twins and a boy, and a youngest boy right here, Isaac. And there's some, upper back problems that go along with that. So I need to be careful with my body. And part of doing that is actually seeing a doctor, not to get an answer that I want, like, hey, give me this medication, but to inform and allow them to use their knowledge and expertise to inform me of what I can do to help. I guess what I'm saying is that the spiritual program works fine. Maybe a doctor could help me, a little bit more, support things so that I can keep my body strong, because these boys are gonna put me through it and I need to be ready for it. That's all I've got.
Thanks, Jenny. Thanks. Yeah, thanks. Diane?
No, it was
Amber.
Amber. Okay, Amber.
Hi, everybody. Amber, compulsive overeater, sugar addict, and a long list of other addictive kinds of
Hi,
things that I
Amber.
work with all the time. Shades of Hope, loved my time at Shades of Hope. It changed my life. I knew the minute I heard about Shades of Hope and Tennie's story that that's where I belonged. And so I did a first 4-week or 2-week, and then I came back and did a 6-week. Now, my dishonesty and my addiction that I let rule my life didn't close the chapter on my eating disorder or any of those other things. But I can tell you, I walked away with a toolkit, and I've used it for forever. So I'm a double hitter. I have been on Ozempic because of my diabetes for a while, and it did wonders for my A1C. I lost a little bit of weight, but my little compulsive overeating, I can eat through the drug, I can eat through anything. And then my medical people said, hey, you're at a fork in the road, and with your diabetes, your blood pressure, blah, 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 you're 65, blah, blah, blah. You might want to reconsider weight loss surgery, which I had visited 7 years ago and decided, no, I got to do this through OA. I got to do it that way. I know it's the right way. But at this point, they were suggesting, no, maybe I do it differently. So I had gastric sleeve surgery a year ago. Was really happy with the results. I lost about 86 pounds, really fast. So I'm a bag of bones and skin. So I get to deal with that part of it too, which is all part of the disease, is watching what I do to my body and kind of being sad about what I've done to my body all of my life. And so what I want to say, I guess, is now I walked into that surgeon and already knew that I was going to talk about OA, because I was in OA, but I wasn't following a good program. I was still just messing around. And so convincing them that you don't do something like this without a 12-step program was really, they actually embraced that. And I don't know if they talk about it with their patients, but the nutritionists, I talked it up real big time, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to do this without a 12-step program. I've been recovered from alcohol for 23 years, but the food, like you said, Tennie, thank you for saying it. It's never going to be perfect. It's just a day-to-day thing. And I so appreciate you. I forget, and I get really mad at myself. And I love that you gave that out there. I also appreciate you saying the part about surgery, or about I have to have surgery next month. And I did not know that I probably should talk to my endocrinologist about maybe getting off of Ozempic, and I'll have that conversation. So thank you for saying that. But I embraced my OA program so much more readily after my surgery. Good. Because I had the crazy going on in the head. The thinner body, but the crazy head. And so I opened my heart up to my fellow OA members. I let them in. I spoke honestly about it, even though sometimes OA is not crazy about bariatric surgery. There's special meetings. I'm starting a bariatric surgery meeting for OA, but none of it's okay without the 12 steps in the spiritual program, because this is, I don't know why I have to keep reminding myself, after all these years of compulsive eating and being a 2nd-generation compulsive overeater, that the psychic change is exactly what I need. And sometimes I have to have it 5 times a day, the psychic change, because I don't like to say I'm sicker than others, but this is a difficult disease. And I do it with shopping. I do it with everything. I was born this way, and my son is too. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for letting me speak. And I knew I wanted to hear this. I saw you on Facebook, and I thought I need to go listen to her about this. So thank you.
Good to see you. Thank you. And what I want to say is hello, another myself. I mean, we have basically the same story. I mean, a lot of similarities. And I'm so glad that you're teaching people. That's what we have to do, is teach physicians and all. They don't know. It's not like that I need to get angry at them. We need to educate them, about the disease. They really don't know. I was talking to my grandson-in-law, my granddaughter's husband, who's a physician, and we talked one time about how much training they got in the addiction field and in eating disorders. And he said, well, I know for a fact we got 8 hours for alcohol and drugs and 1 hour for eating disorders. Now, this is a man that spent 8-9 years getting to be a full-fledged doctor. 8 hours for drugs and alcohol, 1 hour for food or eating disorders. And majority of the people that crosses the thresholds of physicians' offices have one or the other. Not everyone, but majority, I mean, a high percentage. So, maybe the medical schools need to take a deeper look at it. I don't know. But anyway, who else would like to share? Thank you so much. Amber, it's good to see you and hear you. And please keep in touch. I'd love to follow you on your progress. So thank you. Who else would like to share?
I can share. This is Mary Jo.
Hi, I'm Mary Jo.
Hi. It's so nice to see you and hear you, and I really am getting enthused by your talks, Tennie. Yeah, it's opened my eyes since I came up over the spring break, over the eating disorder. I just can't see the way I used to now. I wasn't aware of, like, now Halloween is coming, and I thought, should I give out candy? I think it's enabling, these poor little children to be sugar addicts so young. And anyway, I have that awareness. And I did try the Ozempic for two months, but I didn't complete the second month because I was feeling too lethargic. Like I have a lot of stuff that I do. I'm an entrepreneur, and I have about 6 little jobs that I do, and I have to stay busy because I am my own boss, so I have to make sure I accountable to myself. So I realized I'm not getting anything done. And so also then I just heard yesterday on the NPR about a book that's come out, and it may have been out for a while, but the article on the radio then was called Ultra Processed, that these ultra processed foods are like the cigarettes. They have addictive stuff inside. And I realized for myself, it's like, as soon as I eat a little, I want more. So since I've gotten off that Ozempic and got my energy back, I used to eat and then not eat a lot and then not eat a lot and not eat. And now it's like I'm not eating as much, but I don't have such highs or lows. I can gain a pound or 2, and then I feel stuffed. And then I say, okay, then I'm not eating, I'm eating less, and I can start to feel my stomach shrink a little bit, I can hold it in and I feel better. So I'm doing it myself, as you said, to look at my stomach, to look at my navel and see God is here. So I'm for everything you're saying, and I really appreciate the awareness that you bring into my own life. So I can see clearly now the rain is gone, the food is gone. So thank you again so much.
Oh, thank you. I just so enjoyed having you in the intensive, and I
Yeah.
look at those beautiful eggs about every day.
Thank you so
remember?
much.
You are an exceptional woman. I just, I just enjoyed having you. You're
Yeah.
creative, you're smart, and I hope we can see you on here more. I mean,
That'd be
that's the thing about addicts. I've never met an addict or an eating disorder person yet that wasn't smart. I mean, we're too smart for our own good sometimes. Good to see you, Mary Jo. All right, who else? Who else would like to share? Barbara? I see. Yeah.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Oh, that's so sweet for you to call me out. I've been sitting here taking 2 pages of notes and I don't have any more room. But what very briefly, I think that living with my daughter for the past 10 years, she is permanently disabled on Social Security, doesn't have any hope of getting back to what was as normal a life as it could have been working. But she's kind of given up. But for us to have an intimate relationship with each other, which we obviously didn't have. I missed it because I was working so hard and trying to keep my manic depressive husband in check, which, he passed away of suicide. So that had all these effects have created a huge fear in my daughter. And what I say, I don't understand this illness, but I understand it better now that we have a one-on-one relationship because she's opening up to me and she's able to tell me that she's afraid of giving up her addiction. She's afraid that there's nothing else out there. This is it. And now I understand what the grip is that you have when you have an addiction. Is like nothing else will do. It's working for me. It's a big deception.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do about it except pray. I'm spiritual. She is not. She refuses to be spiritual. And the best I could get out of her is, I'm not saying that God doesn't exist. It's just that I don't have any proof. Well,
So what addiction does she have?
this is something that you kind of have to deal with in the end, because the destruction that it causes to refuse your own spirituality is just devastating.
Yeah.
And nobody else can do it except for you. And I'm working on stepping back and letting her talk to me, because before I tried to shove it down her throat, and that just doesn't work.
Right.
To shove religion down somebody's throat.
Right.
They have to come to, like what you said before, it's in each of us. We just have to have it revealed to us that we can rely on an outside power that's there that we can't see.
Yeah. So are you taking care of yourself, Barbara?
I'm trying.
Won't
This
you
is
come do
one
an
of the main
intensive?
things. Pam has brought me into this group, and I really want to be here every Wednesday to listen to everyone who struggles with this, because I don't understand it.
I know it's a deadly disease. Why don't you come do an intensive with us? For
I
you.
could.
Huh?
Thinking about it. She's
For you.
thinking about, I'm always worrying about having the money to pay for her care. And she may be going to River Oaks in Louisiana soon. We keep on saying she will, but it never really happens. So her psychiatrist told her that she needs to be in residential.
Yeah. So why don't you call Cam and sign up for our October intensive that starts Monday? And I'm in there. I still do the intensives along with my daughters. It can be life-changing for you. You know, you may not be able to help your daughter, but you're worth getting some help for. I'd love to work with you. Look at
I appreciate it. And I'm in touch with Cam by email, so I won't take up everybody's time up. But I'm just wanting to understand the fear and how to release it.
Yeah.
Because I'm working on releasing the fear and the grip that I think I have control over her, whereas nobody has control over you, but except you. Yeah.
One of the things, and I'm not telling her story that people don't know, but my daughter Kim, that is our lead therapist over at Shades, she suffered from anorexia, and I mean it's a tough disease, and it is hard for the person who has the disease, and then for the family. I mean, to watch her every day go down, down, down. So she would be in there in the intensive to help. And so you would get both of us plus my other daughter. And so I want you to really consider it for you. All right.
I'll investigate a little more.
Okay.
I don't know what Laura's going to think about it. She keeps on saying,
Barbara, we
Yes.
have had this conversation. I'm not being rude. This is about you.
Yeah.
Laura is responsible for Laura.
Yeah, that's what I'm
That's what
trying to
Tennie is saying.
kind of
Come take care of you.
Yeah.
Of you. And people on this screen, I think they would all agree with us. You can't control them, and you're saying it, but in your heart, you're not believing it. Jenny, I know, in her family situation, and TJ with some of her family, and Elizabeth, and I can go on in this group. Nothing changes unless you personally, forget Laura, are willing to change yourself. And that's what Tennie and I have been preaching to you for a long time. So I'm going to call you this afternoon. I'm going to email you.
Thanks.
We're going to work this out. Will you at least talk to me?
Yeah, we will.
Okay.
You say we will? Do you have a mouse in your pocket?
We will talk.
This is
Wait,
I. Oh, okay.
We will talk.
We will. Good. All right. Thanks, Barbara. It's so good to see you on here. All right. Our time's up. And so join us next week. What are we talking about? I've got a topic, but anyway, just notice, just check on
Are you gonna do that one, or you hadn't decided completely yet?
all right, I'm going to be talking about, and I haven't got the title, but I'm going to be talking about consistency versus intensity. You know, we can get, as addicts, we can get all gung-ho on something and just go for it, and we're just going to do this and that and something else. But consistency, you know, a little bit every day, a little bit, little by slow, little by slow, little by slow. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be talking about. And all of you have a great week. And I think there's still time to sign up for the cruise. We're going to be cruising, and we're going to be talking about all addictions, and probably a little bit of focus on eating disorders and codependency. But we'll be leaving out of Galveston and be gone a week. And Jenny, I know you would love to do that, wouldn't you? Oh, get somebody to keep those babies.
Who can keep these babies, Tennie?
But it's
If
the
you-
first.
I need to go. Well, I'm working on it in the fellowship. I'm working on it.
Good, good. I want to see those babies. Elizabeth, you and Christopher ought to join us on the cruise. First week in December. Give yourself a Christmas gift. All righty. See y'all next week. Love all of you. Bye-bye.
God bless y'all. Have a blessed one.